share this story, like this story, and make sure you leave a comment, because this story is going to be a mass expose of bad cops in Massachusetts, and it's called the Officer Shuffle. Some ousted cops find jobs at new departments in Massachusetts. So basically, you have officers who've been fired for the worst of the worst stuff, and yet they find new jobs elsewhere in the same state. So let's get deeper into this story. Like, for example, back in October of 2010, you had Officer David Loudon, who gave a 20-year-old college student a ride back to her residence hall in his police cruiser, where he allegedly essayed her and then made some very inappropriate comments. And then he started sending some unwanted texts and phone calls over and over and over again, harassing this woman. And yet he kept his job in law enforcement, because while he resigned from that department, he would go to a new department before an investigation could be concluded about him. They just shoved that under the rug. And that's why this information is only available after the media and activists dug up this information. And in fact, you have WBUR here, who did a great job here. They found more than a dozen current Massachusetts police officers who were previously fired or resigned from another department after a misconduct investigation. And I mean, you've had officers who have been accused of using social media to post inappropriate messages under someone else's name. You've had officers who've been caught drinking and driving repeatedly. You've had officers who've been accused of domestic assault. And I mean, all kinds of things. And yet they kept their jobs in law enforcement because they did the officer shuffle. They just simply went to another department and became a cop again. Isn't that wonderful, America? And the officer shuffle, that comes from Professor Philip Stinson from Bowling Green State University, who studies police crime across the U.S. So there's even terminology for police misconduct now that is common sayings, common phrasing in academia now. That's how you know we've reached a absurd point with U.S. law enforcement. Who in the world would still trust cops at this point? What is your excuse for trusting cops at this point when you have terms like the officer shuffle? Blue Lives Matter, y'all got some explaining to do, because this looks bad. I gotta be honest with you. Looks bad.